A loved one might currently be very active, out and about in public, always on the go, doing all sorts of activities. Or maybe you notice that they're posting a ton about themselves on social media, maybe about their outings or this and that. And you start to wonder, are they interested in someone else now? Are they out there trying to flirt with someone? Are they interested in other women or men? After all, we're talking about the collective here. Are they really interested in that? What's going on there? What's happening with them? With him? Because all of a sudden you're noticing a lot of activity from him. So now let's take a look at what the collective reading wants to tell you and what energies are present here right now in relation to this question. And dear ones, as you know, we're working with the collective here. The person cards are gender neutral. This is your counterpart. Whether male or female Yan collective readings may not apply to everyone. Now let's take a look at what's really going on. A very, very heartfelt hug coming your way. You are all so wonderful. You are truly people with beautiful hearts. Honestly, you're just fantastic. Thank you for being here. I am so grateful for your loyalty here on my channel. And to everyone who is new here, it's wonderful to have you. A warm welcome. I'm sending you all another really, really big hug because you are just so wonderful. Thank you for being here. All right, let's take a look. Oops. Let's see. And a heartfelt thank you for all your wonderfully kind comments, especially for everything you share about what's happening or how things are going for you personally. It's always just so lovely to hear about it because it's also a sign of trust when you share that with the community, when you leave comments like that. It's also good for oneself. It feels good for some people, and it's a sign of trust you feel comfortable. And also for everyone who doesn't comment, I know you're out there and I know each of you has your own story. And yes, but I also find the support you give each other here in the comments just absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Above all, the warmth and kindness that you give and share with me. Thank you for that. So, now let's thoughtfully get back to the profound question about your truly special person, whether they are genuinely interested through their, let's say, remarkably strong, intensely engaging activities, especially out there in the wider world, whether it's on various social media platforms or through numerous social outings, in potentially meeting someone else, perhaps a new individual. Why is he doing this? Or she? Let's see what's going on there. The Page of Swords. Page of Swords. With the page, it shows that there are conflicts here. There's something, yes, definitely some kind of deception. So that's already an interesting start. We have this sense that something is unfair. Something is going on here that might be unfair, maybe even to himself or whatever is happening. As I said, we'll definitely get some clarity. You know that, but there is a conflict. It also has something to do with the truth here. Maybe it's something he doesn't want to look at. Maybe he's also running away from something. Let's take a closer look. In any case, there is some deception here. So there's something here that might be presented differently on the outside. Maybe we'll take an even closer look at what's really going on with your special someone. All right. Then we have the Six of Pentacles. And the Six of Pentacles. With your special someone, this is also a bit about showing something different on the surface, and that's showing up here too. And there's something missing for him quite strongly as well. Because we're also seeing a sense of lack. Lack, no, you could see that in a material sense, sure, but we're focusing on the specific question here. So, and there's this deception, so lack. I'll put it this way. What is he lacking? I'd like to set aside the material aspect for now, but there's a lack of something inside him. Something is going on here. And yes, egoism is also being shown, but I see the focus more on the sense of lack. And he's expressing himself. Communication is a really, really big theme here, because there is definitely some kind of lack present. That is, it fits, it holds true. That's what's being shown. Then we also have the Seven of Swords. Phew. Okay. We're dealing with something false here. And for some reason, he's now trying to get himself out of some kind of affair. This is insincere, definitely insincere, especially towards himself. Once again, we see deception here. And this is a form of escape, 2 years, as if he wants to sneak away from it, but there's a secret simmering here. A secret, maybe, that's also part of the insincerity. Like I said, being true to oneself. Maybe he was also unfair to you. We're also in your energy here, because it's you, the one who's watching this video. So this is definitely about you as well, among other things. But it could also be that he's just beating around the bush a little. Maybe you brought it up with him, or maybe he always did that too. But beating around the bush, kind of making things vague, maybe juggling different things, not getting straight to the point, that's generally his issue. That doesn't mean it's only like that with you, because maybe you two aren't even in contact right now. And let's see. What else will be revealed? Yes, it appears we are currently observing a considerable amount of rather childish and immature behavior emanating from your special someone, which is quite noticeable. Yes, beating around the bush, yes, trying to get out of things. That is precisely what I'm seeing here. That is exactly what is being shown here. Kind of a little bit of a deception going on. But actually, the picture here already says it all. It says everything, but I still want to bring a bit more clarification and additional detail in here, just to make things perfectly clear. All right. A clear picture, although we still have well. Now we've completed it. So with your very special someone, it shows that they tend to fall back a little bit, perhaps into a kind of nostalgic teenage phase, actively trying to recapture something significant from their earlier youth, a period of their lives that holds particular meaning for them. But on the other hand, I also see that he already had this back then. So these are behavioral patterns that are very strongly present in him, almost as if they're burned in. They keep repeating themselves over and over. It might be that for a few weeks or few months they don't show up, but they always come back whenever he or she is experiencing a sense of lack. That lack is also shown the lack of connection to oneself, his self-confidence. There we have the big issue. And in this case, if he can't quite cope with something, if he doesn't get the attention, maybe has problems in the financial area, it could also be work-related or both at the same time if there are issues. If he perhaps feels excluded or left out, if he truly notices something significant, like, wow, I was completely deceived here, I was deliberately lied to, I wasn't truly seen, I didn't receive any genuine attention, perhaps I was even made fun of, I was profoundly betrayed, I was unfairly cheated, I was unequivocally lied to, things of that nature. The kindness of your loved one was taken advantage of. A false game was played. And when things like that happen, then he tips over because I have no stability. His self-confidence is completely shot here. And he's really lacking in his sense of self, in his self-worth. And so he seeks all of that outside. That means your loved one truly needs, in order to significantly boost his ego, to be seen, to gain attention, and to feel acknowledged. He needs the public. That's where he presents himself. He's an entertainer. He entertains incredibly well and needs this time in the spotlight. It's a completely different story. If you notice, wow, he's in a good mood, he's upbeat, and he's having fun here and there and everywhere. On the inside, it looks completely different. On the inside, There I have total inner turmoil, confusion, and imbalance. He gets his balance. As I said, he needs the outside world. They are with him. They will present themselves. He really needs that. It's like a drug in a way. Let's put it gently for now. He needs someone with heart. Those are his own fears. Because he's afraid that if he doesn't present himself, if he doesn't show how great he is, what he does, and it's not about this. I'll just say getting likes, getting comments, or being seen in public when he does things so he can present himself here and there, always being the center of attention. If he doesn't get that, if he's in this phase, I'm talking about a psychological phase here, this imbalance in his psyche, because we're dealing with burdens that go way back. How far back can I go here? I mean, it could go back to childhood, but I can't interpret that any further right now. In this reading, though, it is touched upon. And that's what it is. She needs that to push himself again, to boost himself up. It's like an energy drink. I'd say it's like a whole case of them, maybe, that you somehow always need. And then like flying horror, something along those lines. That's what a person close to your heart needs. He needs external validation so that he can show himself. But it's also like this. For example, let's take the example of like essence. I also have this clicking here. So likes, that kind of validation. Validation either in the form of words, spoken or written. Or simply that he is seen. And here too, we have the issue that if it doesn't reach the right volume, the right amount, so to speak, then he becomes insecure again. Was something wrong? Or should I maybe have edited the picture again? And immediately he posts the next thing. This really has to do with his inner self, because I see him as being completely torn apart. So, and what also comes into play, this is what makes him happy. But here I have completely wrong thinking, wrong actions, wrong perspectives. Because he's also afraid to truly face himself, since he's actually running away from himself. Inside me, my surface is just floating. As for the question of whether this is about another woman, whether he's interested in meeting another woman or another man, and that's why he might be making contacts here or presenting himself in that, I can tell you, definitely not. I see that here as being completely false. So if he's seen that way, that's also mistaken perspective on your part. Because with him, I have, even if it might seem like others could interpret it that way, like, hey, he's flirting now, or, oh, cool, he's doing this for us, and so on, he's not doing it for anyone else. In the end, he's only doing it for himself. And he doesn't want to flirt either, because for him, his heart is closed due to being full. Full, because you are the one in his heart. And you and your soulmate, I have laid out for you. The past, I have the connection between the two of you. I have the closeness, I have the physical closeness. So even if you say you haven't, or if you say you haven't been in a committed relationship yet, I still see the physical closeness. I see touch, it could even be a hug. But I see meetings, I see this regularity happening repeatedly throughout the day. I see phone calls, I sense communication is very strong here. And also the connection, the sense of familiarity. I see a lot in the private sphere between the two of you. Because I see the love from your side towards him, your soulmate. And from your soulmate, I also see the love towards you. So as I said, for some of you, I also see sexuality, but it doesn't have to be. But in any case, I see physical closeness. I see touch. And if so, I also see phone calls. But these phone calls are long. So it's not like you just send a quick voice message. Instead, what I see is real regularity, like daily or several times a week, maybe even in the evenings, this sense of him winding down, you winding down. I see the phone calls between the two of you, this togetherness, especially this sense of trust, complete trust, and also this consistency between you both. And it's also quite possible that it was purely a friendship between you two, but even then, the activities you did together as friends. And even in your conversations, when you talk to each other, there was this closeness, this strong connection, as I said, even if you weren't in a relationship. But as I said, I sense the connection as being very strong. I sense this togetherness, the sense of trust, and you also had very intimate conversations. Very personal, very confidential, because he really confided in you and didn't just keep things on the surface. And that's also part of the whole picture. Because for him, it was like an avalanche that came rolling in. An avalanche, meaning that what once existed between you, the love, your relationship, the connection between the two of you has suddenly come back into full focus. And his heart, as I mentioned earlier, which had been closed off due to being overwhelmed, has now come out of its frozen state. So, really out of the frozen state, he has moved past that. And he said, look, here I am. So now, let's go. Things can move forward now. Because I sense the love between you two is very intense, very strong. I see the connection, I see the togetherness, I see the stability, I see something big between the two of you. No matter the reason why it ended here, but it never completely stopped between you two. I feel your connection is so intense because I'm stuck to it. So intense, so strong. Yes, a committed life partnership. These are the connections that both of you feel with each other. Yes, I do see you a bit caught up in making a decision right now, where you're saying, hold on, boy, listen, if you keep putting yourself out there in public all the time and so on, you can just take a hike and politely slide past my behind. Because with you, I see that you want stability, you want consistency, and you don't want someone who's just showing off and needs all that anymore. Because you say you want clarity, you want a clear direction, you want clear structure in all of this, and you can't really figure him out anymore. With your loved one, it's like this. He's been caught up in it again. And quite strongly at that. Like an avalanche or a hurricane, whichever you prefer, we can use any of those terms here. Because he or she feels it strongly. He actually senses that you are the perfect counterpart for him. And he knows it, and he always knew it. Even back then, when you might have already been in a relationship, he never really saw it. Always pushed it away. And kept closing himself off again and again. Because he lacks trust in himself and the trust to completely open up, to let go, to allow himself to fall. That's actually a major issue here. That's what we see here. As I said, he has a big issue with himself. And now he's also facing this, oh my God, what am I doing? What should I do? So you're there, but somehow he becomes totally insecure about what he can even do. Because he already knows that he really messed things up here regarding what once was between you two. Maybe he quietly slipped out of the situation here, but he also doesn't want to be confronted about anything, including his activities. So if someone brings it up, whether it's you or someone else, like, hey, something doesn't seem quite right with you because you always present yourself this way, then I see him kind of making excuses. It was like that back then too, a bit of making excuses, pushing things away, always showing something else to the outside world. Basically, I found him to be very, very, very vulnerable. Really extremely vulnerable. And so outwardly, he shows something different. And then, no, can I not be hurt? And so on. So, as I said, there's no interest in anyone else that you would be flirting with someone here. And I also didn't get the sense that he was saying, hey, I want to, well, not to you, but to those out there, I want to do something good and let you all be a part of it because I like you all so much, everyone together. That's really not how I saw him at all. It's all a lie. This presentation to the outside is just a pretense, false pretenses in that direction. Because basically I see him as someone who just wants his ego stroked, who wants his ego boosted, who wants to get attention and recognition and to be admired. So in that sense, I see him a bit as a show-off, at least outwardly. But what isn't fake here and where he's not pretending is where his heart says, hey, you're really in this. You are very, very, very deeply in my heart. And I feel the connection with you. And he wants to move towards healing because he knows you are his healing. You can help him with that. Because he feels IT, even if you're not in contact right now, or maybe you're in contact again, but on a different level. So feel your soulmate for him. You are absolutely number one. You are the ultimate, the absolutely perfect counterpart. Because you give love, you show him, you give him these positive feelings, you have this positive energy, which he had completely lost for quite some time here, the positive energy. because he has been surrounded here by negative energy, one disaster after another, and nothing really works out. There are problems everywhere, uncertainties, restlessness, anger, misunderstanding. She is not understood. And this heaviness, and as I said, lies, intrigues, falseness, being taken advantage of, the whole package. But you were always honest, and you always gave from your whole and purest heart. So, as I said, with other people here, or that he now somehow has an interest like, hey, I want to get to know you. No, he only does all that purely for himself. He doesn't want to get to know anyone else. He also doesn't want to do anything good for anyone else, only for himself, for his own ego. So I would say you can just smirk about it. Whether you even still want him, of course, is another question. Because I can see that you're not really coping with all of this. So this is a topic for you where you say, no, that's kind of a no-go for me. All right, so let's take a look now. Now let's move on with. I always find love really beautiful. The cups, I really like them too. Now we have the Knight of Cups. So Knight of Cups, Knight of Cups. We have the Knight of Cups, Knight of Cups. Yes, your special someone is also quite jealous and maybe a bit moody right now. As I said, because this isn't really going the way he wants it to. He keeps trying desperately to get attention from others. But I also see your special someone very, very strongly because he sees the beauty in you. Being together with you is full of beauty and also your good mood. So maybe you two are in contact and you're just being yourself and in a good mood, and that back and forth. So not this heaviness and everything being so bad. And the pessimism, with him, I sometimes sense a bit of pessimism creeping in, but that's not you. And as I said, he feels it that you always have absolutely positive energy and you are good for him. You radiate good vibes. So with him, it definitely brings out a good mood. And even if it's just a memory of when you two were in contact with each other, in any case, your special someone is really connecting with this, as we've already seen. And it shows again what the relationship between you two is. It concerns both of you. And he does go into this mode of thinking about it. And as I said, he still slips back a little bit from time to time because he is like that. It's like he's in an in-between world, especially in this in-between world where he's really trying to pull himself out, to maneuver his way out, to get the whole thing onto a straight path. So here we have this beauty, as I said, that he sees in you, especially what I find wonderful, the connection you had with each other, or have again, depending on your situation, collectively. And I think that's really, really wonderful because that's where he hears the language of the heart. And also there, slowly, let me start again, also the heart, the language of the heart, he gives it his attention. Then we also have the Ace of Wands. So your beloved will definitely take the opportunity here to do something about it, to change the whole situation, especially to let everything flow more into the heart, to become active also when it comes to the connection with you. Because he knows, as I said, you are his happiness. Even if he is a bit aimless right now, I still see him very clearly. He keeps looking back and trusting. Dreamily looking back and dreamily in your direction, thinking about the connection with you, what you once had together, how much you mean to him, and the feelings of happiness you keep triggering in him or her. Right now, still a bit uncertain, yes, but things are starting to pick up. A new momentum in love, and above all, fresh energy for change, even if right now he is still a bit. Taking a short break in the in-between world and having a snack. But even a snack gets finished eventually. Well, and then things move on. Dear ones, thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching, and I wish you a wonderful, beautiful rest of your day. Goodbye.